So today more than ever, farmers are being asked to produce greater yields to feed growing global populations. They're being asked to do more sustainable food development practices. So there's all of these pressures on farmers to just deliver more. And the reality is, without innovation, we're never going to get those outcomes.
Thanks, have a great day. Bye.
Perfect.
3 days, thousands of people, endless stories to be shared. Welcome to the Farm Show. A look behind the scenes and the stories from Ag in Motion, Western Canada's largest outdoor farm show. Canadian agriculture is experiencing a revolution of technology. The wheels of the agriculture industry are in constant motion, with innovation at its heart. At Ag in Motion, farmers can see the leading edge of technology, but also revel in the glory of past innovations.
I see a new generation coming where technology is the thing. The amount of knowledge required for that technology is becoming a real specialized thing. And a lot of farmers today, they're operating these big machines, but they're not under the hood. And that's the difference from the generation I grew up in to the generation that's going to take over the farm now.
To see those people appreciating those old tractors coming back to life if they've been refurbished or being maintained so they can keep being operated, even though they might be 50, 60, or 80 years old, that to me is pretty exciting. Now, I will tell you though, my favorite part of an agriculture trade show is all the new technology. So yes, there's a tractor pull with some old memories and legacy, but it's the new stuff that thrills me. I think things like spray drones and the sensor technology on an 85-foot wide sprayer or a seeder, I mean, that's exciting to me. I do appreciate the nostalgia, but it's the newness of the next level technology is what excites me.
Ag in Motion is a place where many companies and individuals are collaborating to solve agriculture's most pressing challenges through the advancement of technology. Equipment is a big part of the drive, but technology can be anything from the Internet of Things and AI monitoring of animal health to data management and GPS-informed automation systems.
We know all innovation, regardless of the industry, will follow funding. So needing people that are focused on investing in those areas and bringing them together is such a critical component. And the connectivity in Saskatchewan and the collaboration and willingness to support is unparalleled to any other region. My name's Laura Mock. I'm the Director of Cultivator powered by Conexus. So Cultivator, we are a tech incubator located in Regina, Saskatchewan. We have a really bold mandate to support 250 companies in raising their tech ideas or innovations to being $1 million plus companies. So we do that through the delivery of 2 portfolios. The first is our core portfolio that's focused on growing the Saskatchewan tech ecosystem. The second, which is why we're here, is our AgTech Accelerator. And our AgTech Accelerator is a global accelerator program where we support founders from across Canada and the UK, and we help them to continue to build their agriculture innovation and to get to a point where they can commercialize their business.
The Cultivator AgTech Accelerator has supported 62 companies or cohorts since 2022 by mentoring and providing connections that fast-track local innovators and companies on the Canadian prairies.
Agriculture is such a big part of Canada and what we do, and 40% of all of the farming land is in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan is one of the best specialty producers of cereals and different grains. So again, bringing innovators and investors and industry leaders together in the heart of Canadian agriculture is the best place where we can grow agriculture innovation.
Farm Simple is one of the companies from the very first Cultivator AgTech Accelerator cohort in 2022. Theirs is a success story that shows how quickly an idea can go from concept to commercialization.
Farm Simple has technology to monitor all things water for your livestock and ag operation. So water levels, temperatures, pressures, flows, knowing that your animals have water while you're not there. Farm Simple started with a question from a friend. He asked me if I could build him a product that was going to text him the status of his water level for his cattle while he was at the lake for the summer. The Cultivator Ag Tech Accelerator has been a significant help for Farm Simple and the growth of our products. So we attended the first ever Ag Tech Accelerator through Cultivator. We made a ton of network connections and learned a lot of things there. So through those network connections, we were able to find companies like Startup TNT, who we were able to get a small investment through, and that significantly helped our company grow from there.
Two of the companies in the 2025 AgTech Accelerator cohort are Chariot Command and Antler Bio. They are at Ag in Motion to expand the reach of their unique technology.
So Chariot Command, we use cameras to understand the mechanical health of farm equipment. So we actually put cameras onto machinery in dynamic environments, helping look for issues before they become a really big problem. So we actually start with thermal imaging. So we're detecting fire in combines, sparks, all those kinds of issues to help reduce downtime for farmers. We were actually part of 4 different programs. All of them all great in their own little ways, but the Cultivator program was like a mile above the rest. And it also showed us a community that we hadn't quite found anywhere else. Like it was a gateway to Saskatchewan.
So I'm here from Antler Bio, and I'm here with our decision support platform for dairy farmers called EpiHerd. So essentially it's designed to help improve the sort of performance, efficiency and sustainability of dairy cattle with increases in sort of performance up to 22%. And we do that essentially by pioneering the use of epigenomics in livestock management.
These companies benefit from farm connections that the Cultivator AgTech Accelerator program provides. Talking directly with farmers for feedback informs and improves their products.
We actually work with farmers right now. We made something, we made a prototype, and we're already released it. And as time wears on, we build out new features and functionalities using that visual information from thermal and regular cameras. We're really big on working with farmers to make this product better.
So everything we try and do is basically designed and developed in collaboration with farmers. We appreciate that, they're the most important people in which to basically sort of support in order to get technology adoption. So we want to work with them. We want to basically demonstrate the impact to them and obviously essentially achieve a return on investment for their efforts.
So a key piece of feedback that we received from farmers and producers through the Ag Tech program, we learned from them that although they don't like to take the risk, they are happy to pay to do a demo. If it doesn't work out, we can give them a refund. But if it does work out, they're happy with the payment and they got a product they like.
In 3 short years, Catlin Lang and his brother Dustin have developed a viable commercial product. They promote it to thousands of Western Canadian farmers that visit the Farm Simple booth at Ag in Motion. That's the power of industry collaboration and expanded opportunities companies like Conexus can provide.
Meeting with farmers and producers at Ag in Motion significantly helps our exposure. So it helps get the word out, the education that we exist, we're a company here, and this is how we're helping livestock producers. We get feedback at the shows. They will say, oh, I really wish you had this feature. And if enough people are saying that, we take a serious look at it, see how we can add it in.
We're looking for actual technology that makes sense on the farm and will make a difference. By relocating our finale week to Saskatoon and aligning to Ag in Motion, this is such a big anchor show. We have producers, industry leaders, and honestly governments from around the world that are here at this show. So being able to highlight the strength of Canadian and Saskatchewan agriculture, to be able to get this innovation in front of such a broad audience, and honestly to create more connectivity to other industry leaders throughout the province has been a big piece in our continued growth of the program.
For farmers looking for equipment solutions, Ag in Motion is one of the best places to see hundreds of millions of dollars worth of farm equipment in one place over 3 days in July. Scott Garvey reports on agricultural equipment and has seen the rapid evolution of machinery in agriculture.
My father has a picture of me riding on an old-fashioned stone boat while my grandfather pulled the stone boat with a 55 Massey Harris tractor. And I think ever since that time, I was probably about 4, and I've been around tractors on and off almost entirely since then, and that was probably the start of it, just being around tractors as a really young kid. Yeah, I think that's one of the unique things about farmers, probably more than in any other industry, is they would take a machine out and think, in a lot of cases, think, well, if only it did this or that, it would work better. Well, I have a welder in my shop, and I've got an old piece of machinery that's unused now, full of old steel I can recycle. And I think that attitude, and well, in fact, I know that attitude has led to so much actual innovation in production machinery. We see here, especially in the seeding area, we see a lot of this technology originated on farms, in farm workshops.
My name's Jared Gust, farm at Davidson, Saskatchewan. We're always looking to see what's new and latest and greatest, and I've tried being on the bleeding edge of a few things, and that's usually painful. But once something's run and proven technology, I'm the first guy in. So maybe not a bleeding edge, but early innovator.
A lot has changed in 100 years for farmers in Western Canada. In that short time, horse-drawn plows have been replaced by gas-powered tractors. Today, the latest farm equipment has auto steer, sensors, and software to operate without human intervention. These are just a few of the changes that help address farmer needs like comfort, efficiency, productivity, and labor challenges.
That's the noisiest, dirtiest cab you'll ever ride in, or one of them. It's just a metal box with windows, and I once referred to them as easy bake ovens, because when the sun shines through that in the summertime, it gets to be about 110 degrees Fahrenheit in there, or in any of these early cabs, and of course the noise is amplified from the, and I've spent a lot of hours in those cabs. That's probably why I don't hear quite as good today as I should. But that operator comfort is really something that even since this, since the early 70s, where we're still with pretty basic cabs. But nowadays, just as comfortable as a car, obviously.
I would say that some of the features that we see today in air seeder technology that we wouldn't have had, say, a generation ago, really revolve around productivity, overall efficiency, and then also input management. So we talked about earlier about the section control system. 15, 20 years ago, we had no section control systems. We also were dealing with smaller machines, so we didn't have a lot of overlap. But as farms get bigger, as we need to be more productive, as our seeding windows get smaller, we have to get bigger units, we have to cover more acres per day. And with the size increase of the units, we also have to take a look now at what our input costs are, and that's why we're incorporating the 8-section control into the machine, is to help eliminate that overlap, help eliminate that waste, per se, of seed and fertilizer, which at the end of the day costs the producer extra money, takes away from margin at the end of the day when it comes to being profitable on the farm.
Almost all modern drills now use what's called section control. So this is the metering seed and fertilizer out of the tank. And each one of these runs will go to a specific section on the drill, usually about 10 feet wide. And when GPS tells the system that that section of the seed drill is now overlapping a section that's already been seeded, the electric motor in the seed and fertilizer meter will stop. That means no seed or fertilizer is now going to that section of the drill. So you're not wasting product and adding expense to your seeding operation.
Yeah, so we've got predictive ground speed automation on the S7 combine here behind us, as well as on our X9 combines. And that's the cameras on the front of the cab that look out 28 feet in front of the machine, and they're measuring crop height and density. And then we also feed satellite imagery into the machine, and we can compare what the cameras are seeing in real time versus the satellite imagery, that predictive yield layer map. And that's allowing us to automatically control the speed of the combine. And really that's maximizing the productivity, and we're seeing up to 20% increase with our customers running that in the field.
Well, kind of coincidentally, on the way here, I stopped in my old hometown in Tim Hortons, and I ran into an old high school buddy. And he and I grew up on the farm. in the 70s, and his family farm at that time was 6 quarters and our family farm was 4 quarters. Today he's farming 22 quarters, and he's still on his family farm, but it's expanded greatly. So that kind of says a lot about exactly what's happened across farming just about everywhere.
With over 30,000 farmers gathering at Ag in Motion every July, it's easy to see the size of the agriculture industry. But the reality is, people who are able to work on a farm are a scarce resource.
Well, one of the dynamics that we face, not only here in Western Canada, but even back home in the US, and for that fact all across the world, is we're running out of people to help on the farm.
And one of the challenges that our customers have in the harvest is finding qualified labor to run the machines, and getting a optimal operator to get up the curve quickly as the season starts in terms of productivity and operation of the machine. With the technology we now have embedded in these products, you can start day one. And it's money. A few weeks ago, I was actually driving our X9 combines in the field. I am not an experienced operator, but with the technology package we've got, with harvest automation settings as well as the predictive ground speed, I'm operating at the level of the most advanced operators.
Technology can help with the labor crunch on the farm, but will farmers accept robots doing their work? Peter Wall sees drone technology growing rapidly in agriculture regions.
Even nowadays, we have farmers who cannot quite believe that the robots, drones, can do so much work, and they just press a button and it's all autonomous. So I think these persons from back then would really have a hard time to realize that this is today's world. So the evolution is, back then we had to just rely whatever the weather provides and do the best that we can, but we had no impact on if all of a sudden the crop goes bad, or we have not as good weather, or we see patches that we would have to fertilize but we cannot. Even with the modern high-definition sprayers, we have the problem, if we have too much rain, we cannot get on the field, even with the current technology. So the drones have solved this issue by just flying onto the field, creating no tracks, creating no damage to the crop, which is usually 3 to 4%. So we can just fly onto the field, do our job. We can spray, we can seed, we can fertilize with the drone, we can do all the jobs, and just with no tracks on the field, no damage, a lot safer than a plane. The technology takes over so fast.
Farmers are well aware of how much technology has revolutionized the agriculture industry. But the wistfulness for the old machinery still exists at Ag in Motion. This year, Scott joins Jason LeBlanc from Steffes Auctioneers to host the Antique Tractor Pull, while crowds gather to celebrate the nostalgic might of machines from the last century.
Oh, Jimmy is screaming now. If you wondered why Ron was wearing earmuffs when he started the run and the other drivers weren't, now you know. So that was the warm-up round. Now they're going to run them through again.
And I think if you appreciate machinery, you could almost personalize them in a little bit. See an old vehicle or an old machine out there that's derelict and not working, and I almost kind of feel sorry for it, and I want to put it in the shop, and I want to give it the life that it had when it came off the factory floor. And I've done that to quite a few vehicles and machines, and when you get that sense of accomplishment from doing that, it just makes it a lot of fun. And then you're left with something great at the end, a machine that's now back to life.
Well, it takes a lot of labor of love, really. A lot of these tractors I've gotten, we've probably got 80 tractors in our collection, and we've got most of them running, but it's a wintertime project usually. We drag them home, and I love it. It's kind of one of my passions I have, right? So, I don't know, brought them out just to have a little bit of fun, and you've got to find a use for them. That's what keeps them going the easiest. I want to keep them going. My grandfather collected old tractors, and my dad did too, and they're really quite simple, actually. Like, fuel system maintenance is kind of the biggest thing, and I try and get most of mine out of the shed once a year.
65th birthday by now. Here he goes. That diesel's putting out around 70 horsepower, at least it did when it left the factory. Coming up to the 150-foot mark. And no sign of slipping out yet. He's still going. He's past the 200. He's got to pass the 250 to beat his last run. But I don't think we're going to get there, are we?
Scott and the crowds at the antique tractor pull are not the only ones who love a nostalgic look at farm machinery. Saskatchewan-born farm boy Dave Hundeby is a designer and inventor whose patents are inside all kinds of farm equipment in Canada, the United States, and Europe.
My very first patent was the tandem swather patent, which I sold to MacDon. And MacDon did a great job of taking that initial concept, which I put together a unit in 1978. We used it all fall. They took the concept, and their engineer, Roger Patterson, did a great job of taking that and fine-tuning it and perfecting it. And they marketed those things and sold them all over the world. As the technology adapts, you can do more and more things automatically. We were walking by one booth there, and where, you know, the combine unit will anticipate how heavy that crop is and slow down before the combine even gets there. And steering itself, so many things, bring the air cart alongside. There's technologies that are coming along that are just quite amazing. I think in the seating world, which was part of what I worked on, the sectional control has been huge, because as these machines grew larger and larger, any slew or power pole or anything, the overlap was getting terrible.
Sectional control's only been developed in the last 15 years. And it's really been helpful for farmers, because now you can use these very wide implements that can, through sensors, be able to identify where there might be an obstruction, and then they can either turn on or turn off something so that you're not spreading too much seed or too much fertilizer in that area where it's not going to grow anyways.
The tremendous satisfaction, you know, to be able to start with designing a blower for an air cart, and then designing the air cart, and seeing how the whole industry has gone. And now when I go for a drive by and, oh yeah, I helped design that, or, you know, yeah, our team did that. And to this day, I've got a few of those originals in my yard, you know, just kind of fun to walk past them and say, oh yeah, that was fun times.
Autonomy is a fast developing technology in the ag sector. We're probably going to see technology or automation in the ag sector advance a little more slowly. We're going to see it start with the less critical jobs, like we see it now with grain cart handling and some tillage applications. But when we get into the seeding and the harvesting, those are applications where a small mistake can make a big impact on a farmer's bottom line. And I think farmers would be more reluctant to fully walk away and trust that, a critical operation like that to a robotic system.
Yeah, well, auto steer sure made the farm, that was one advancement that was definitely made the farm easier.
So it was a good thing?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes, well, when we're farming more acres now too, and putting in longer days, and auto steer GPS, you know, you can go after dark yet. And
right,
back in the old days, they hardly had lights. The lights were there to drive you home. That was about all. So
there's all kinds of talks about robotics and things replacing people, but it's going to be a while yet. Maybe in my farming career, I'll see autonomous farming. You still have people sitting in it to grab it if something goes wrong.
With the advancements in the Canadian agriculture industry, it's not just Canadian farmers closely watching the development of new technology in this country, but international audiences too.
Ag-Emotion has done a great job with the support of groups like Saskatchewan Trade and Export Partnership, Saskatchewan Trade and Economic Development, as well as Global Affairs Canada, and the exhibitors at the show to attract international delegations. So when countries like Australia, or United States, or Uganda, or Mexico, or Kazakhstan and Germany, they all come here. It's because the equipment and the technology for small grains and oilseeds in a dryland farming environment, the best technology in manufacturing is done here in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba, and it's recognized all over the world.
At the end of the day, what we hear from founders, it comes back to the age-old principle of you don't know what you don't know, but we're the connectors. So we are connected to experts all around the world, and to be able to bring everyone together. And again, it's another benefit of the show is it's bringing the experts that we might have to connect with virtually together in one room, at one show, in one farmer's field, with the purpose of advancing agriculture innovation is huge.